Financial hardship occurs when you own a home. You have a lot of choices to create cash flow.
Real estate expert Linda Kraft is here to offer advice and solutions. Welcome.
Thank you.
We love having you here. So what are the most common financial hardships that people experience?
So the most common would be medical expenses, job loss, and consumer debt. And all three of them are different, and yet they hurt, very similar. If you take care of it quick, you get past it easily, and if you don't, well, medical expenses, sometimes people have to sell their home because they need a different home. Job loss is the hardest to time when to sell because you keep holding on and hoping. And consumer debt is really hard to get out from under because the interest rate is so high.
Okay, so during that financial hardship, owning a home gives you an advantage over renting, doesn't it?
Absolutely. If you're renting, you lose a job, you can't pay your rent, they're going to kick you out on the street. At least when you own a home, you have the ability to borrow against it if you need to or sell it. Now, I don't recommend personally going into debt when you're in trouble. I mean, that has to just make sense and be a short-term solution. But at least you have that choice. Sell, borrow. You have some choices.
Yeah. Okay, so let's review the list that you have of the mistakes that people make. So homeowners make a lot of mistakes. First off, with waiting too long to sell.
You know what? It doesn't matter what you own, you love it. Okay. You love your clothes, you love your dog, you love your home. And so sometimes when people really need to let go, they hang on too long. They go through their savings, they burn up their retirement accounts, they borrow money to keep making that payment, and they can really dig themselves in a deep, dark hole with that.
Another mistake, asking the mortgage company to lower your payment.
Yes, everybody needs to understand that the bailout from the government is over. There is no free money. And if you call and you ask for a loan modification, which is what we're talking about, you're going to end up having bad credit, probably get turned down, or if they grant you one, it's $100 or $200 a month. And they're still going to tack all that on to what you owe them. So there's just no way to really make that work.
So are they essentially delaying you paying that money?
They are. You're
not getting out of paying it. You're just delaying it.
You're just delaying it, and it's going to cost you more. And most of the time, people, they have to get behind in their mortgage so that they will actually approve them for a loan modification. At the same time, they've got a parallel path of foreclosure happening. And many times, people that come to me will say, I got turned down for a loan modification, and I got a foreclosure notice. Can you help me? And I actually can, but they're so deep in a hole at that time. Yeah. And so it's never been a good solution.
Right. Yeah, I can imagine. So missing payments and risking foreclosure is another issue that comes up.
Yeah, sometimes obviously when you've lost your job and you've run out of money, you start getting behind. And once you are behind 3 months, 90 days, they'll no longer take a partial payment. So you have to come up with the entire amount to get your mortgage whole again. The last thing you want to do is have a foreclosure. And after 90 days, that process has already begun. So the best thing to do is to do a short sale. You're going to, this whole thing, this financial hardship, we want it to be temporary. We want people to get past it and get back on their feet. And just recently, I had someone who he had a business loss, and we helped him do a short sale. And 2 years later, he's back in a home, he's back on his feet, he's singing our praises, and can't believe how his life has turned around. That's what we want, not long-term headaches because you made bad choices.
All right, let's talk about debt consolidation companies.
Oh, please stay away from that. It sounds so good, and it may initially help you because you have a smaller payment, but it's going to hurt you for a long, long time. It's just bad. It's not a good plan.
Okay. Wow. That sounds, I'm like, all these things, I'm like, this is good advice. So what is your best advice for helping people bulletproof home ownership?
The best advice is when you buy a home, let's start there. Buy a home that you can really afford. And if you're married, why don't you try qualifying on just one income? That way, if you lose your job, there's not going to be a problem. And then when you do have that mortgage, pay it off as quickly as possible. Can you imagine how your life would be different if you lost your job, or you had medical expenses, and you don't have a mortgage to pay? You own that roof over your head, and no one can take it away from you. So get out of debt as fast as you can. Pay off that mortgage.
Because the bank will qualify you for more than you can afford. It's up to you to say no, right?
Oh my gosh.
Always, always, always.
Very good information.
And it's so tempting to buy up, isn't it? Buy what you can afford and pay that mortgage off, and then you're really bulletproof. It doesn't matter what comes your way. You're going to be okay.
Great advice. Thank you, Linda.
Thank you.
Linda Kraft and team realtors have been making people good real estate decisions for more than 30 years. Contact Linda at 919-235-0007.